This is kind of going way back, but right from the get-go, when we started in with Salesforce, we were moving over from essentially it's a huge address book. So I had to try and work with, data cleansing and making sure, it's really, good quality data that we have. So one of the first tools we looked at was demand tools and Dupe Blocker, both by a company called CRM Fusion, and found that it was really great. We still use demand tools actually to this day. It kind of helps us look into each of the objects and try and see, okay, are there any duplicates? And then with Dupe Blocker, that actually allowed us to set up some rules. So we could kind of force people on entry to, enter in data, and then it would actually check the system to see, okay, does this already exist based on certain criteria that we set up? So then when fast forwarding to the spring 15 release, when Salesforce released duplicate management, which is actually built on their data.com algorithms, we're kind of like quick to the hop there, and so we activated it and then deprecated Dupe Blocker and found out that it actually helped to really strengthen and prevent even more user errors. So that's really where the data.com piece comes in. The biggest thing that I can also do, we have monthly kind of Salesforce Pro, as we like to call them in our company. People, the people that tend to use Salesforce a lot. We have monthly meetings and getting together, and I just really work to help educate folks. For mass email, we had been using vertical response, but it didn't really have the flexibility that we had needed. So we switched over to Salesforce Marketing Cloud and their Marketing Cloud connector. I should also say that we happen to be quick to using Lightning. So kind of right when that came on board, we activated it. And so it was great with the Salesforce Marketing Cloud connector that integrates directly with our instance of Salesforce and then allows us to send emails to campaigns or reports. It has some pretty sweet analytics. One thing that I forgot to add on to my stack was form assembly, and it should totally be there. It also integrates with Salesforce for our email marketing, sign up, and profile management. So I kind of use that in combined with Marketing Cloud. Last but not least, we use Cvent as our event management platform. And it has a really great integration with Salesforce that can have multiple data exchange points. And we happen to use it to import data for an event list. And then after an event ends, we push data back to Salesforce because our event team does such an amazing job with cleaning up the data that, we integrate it that way. So that's pretty much my stack.
Okay, so if I heard you right, you have Dupe Blocker so that people cannot enter duplicate contacts. You have demand tools to clean up historic or imported data, or if there are any, just to kind of do some health checks on your data when it's working. And then you have data.com to enhance and to make sure that all of the contacts that are in Salesforce are the right people and that you're reaching them at the right moment.
Yep.
Okay, and then you use Cvent, you're importing lists of people who've attended your marketing or your outreach programs. And so you're importing those lists and then you're putting that through the data management washing machine to make sure that, again, you don't get any dupes, everything is enhanced correctly, and that you're serving up the right information to the users at the right moment.
Right.
Okay, and how many names do you kind of manage on a monthly basis? Hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands, millions?
No, it's, we are a national nonprofit, but in terms of contacts, on a monthly basis, I mean, I'm saying there, because we've set up pretty strict rules, luckily that's kind of cut down the monthly chunk to literally, I don't know, maybe like 50, 100, I mean, it's really the data.com duplicate management integration has really, really helped out. And then just also trying to be forward thinking about how do we want to structure our data in Salesforce.
Okay. Now, what about on your website? Do you have some deduping tools? So if somebody wants to get involved or become maybe they want to be a volunteer or maybe they want to donate, is there something on the website that stops people from becoming dupes in the first place? How does that work?
Yeah, so actually the easiest thing to liken it to is if people want to sign up for our newsletter at jff.org, what happens, and that's really where form assembly comes into play. So when you go to subscribe to our email newsletter, we ask for your email address. Right up front, we use form assembly to check Salesforce directly to see, okay, are there any contacts with that email address in Salesforce? If so, then we have a complex grouping of forms that interact with Salesforce, where it actually will allow the person to interact directly with their data.
Okay.
But we have certain security features built into that as well.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. So there's a way that people can't insert rogue data into your org as well.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we so ultimately we are trusting people that they're going to be entering in meaningful information about themselves. But yeah, at some point we are saying, nope, sorry.
I am not a robot.
Yeah, and then it's similar to like a web to lead form at that point.
Okay, and then so what kind of feedback do you get from your users on the quality of the data? Because it sounds like you have a lot of names in the database, and as well as the quality. Let me also ask you this: are you using person accounts?
We are not using person accounts, and we do get quite a bit of feedback from people saying, hey, I want to put in, especially when they want to try and import lists of folks and they get some errors. A lot of times they may get errors because, we're just flat out not allowing it because the person already exists in Salesforce. So I would say on a monthly basis, I may get like 2 or 3 phone calls with folks that are not too thrilled, but then, it's a very quick fix.
Okay, so it's easy to keep your data clean, but that's because you have such a rigorous data management process in place.
Yeah, I mean, it's really making sure our users enter in good data. If they enter in, if they enter in bad data, I keep telling them garbage in equals garbage out.
Yeah, for sure. It sure does. Okay, yep. And then just remind us of a use case that you have for your Marketing Cloud Connect.
So Marketing Cloud Connect, we're utilizing it for mass emails. So any emails that we have to send out, we just use the Marketing Cloud connector and then just goes right out through Marketing Cloud. Again, really nice feature there is the analytics. When it comes back into Salesforce, we're actually getting some really nice stuff that our communication folks are pretty happy with.
And then if this is a slightly wacky question, but if you could wave a magic wand, what would be the one thing that you would solve for with your data integrity?
That's a good one. Caught me off guard there.
Okay, we'll have a think about it. We'll go to Kristi and then have a think about it, and then we'll come back around. But every admin has one thing that they would just like solved for that is just an irritating.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's really, the clean data and trying to harp on folks to just make sure they check and triple check things. And so I put in as much stuff I could there to try and prevent it. But yeah, for me, it's really just being on top of the data and making sure it's clean.
Okay, so no magic wand, just a magic washing machine.
Pretty much.
Okay. Perfect. Well, thank you so much. Let's go on to Kristi. Kristi, hello.
Hello.
Hey, good afternoon.
So,
Amanda is going to show us your slide. There we go. Okay. So, Kristi, welcome to the webinar. Please tell us a little bit about your current role and how long you've been using Salesforce for.
Sure. So I am the Salesforce Operations Manager at MapAnything. So that means I get to manage our internal instance of Salesforce. I've been here about a year and a half, but I've been using Salesforce for over 10 years. So I'm an accidental admin that has been doing some consulting, some adminning, some all kinds of things with Salesforce for the past 10 years. So I'm in the unique position now of being at a partner. So obviously being in the AppExchange ecosystem ourselves, we definitely look at apps first when we're trying to solve problems. So my stack is pretty stacked full.
Okay, so I think your stack is interesting because clearly you have a lot of data. However, your stack is very different from Dave's. So I'd like you to please tell us about the customer service apps that you're using. And can you take us through either a use case that you solve with these customer service apps, or maybe a day in the life of the customer? What does it feel like to be a customer who's engaging with these apps that you have?
Well, I think what's actually interesting is how a lot of these apps kind of complement each other. So, you know, we start maybe on the Pardot side. As your Pardot score increases, then you surface up in a MapAnything layer of prospects. Then someone's looking at LinkedIn Sales Navigator to get some more information about you. And then as they build their opportunity, they get you signed through DocuSign, then you become a customer. So we've already got that rich data about you before we do the handoff to our customer success team. We recently implemented Task Feed, which couldn't fit in my stack, but is a great project management tool for implementation. So we're going to walk you through implementing MapAnything. And then as well as using Pardot for an onboarding drip campaign to make sure you're aware of all the different features, and then starting to ask you for feedback after you've been a customer for a while, right, to make sure that we're on the right track. So that's one way that I think we try to think about apps, is really how the different pieces can complement each other throughout the life cycle. I think the other thing that's interesting about some of those items in the customer service stack, you'll see that they're replicated in other stacks as well. So we really try to find tools that might address concerns for multiple departments. So I think that's the great advantage. I'm actually on a team of 3 here in sales operations, and it's great because, you know, we'll have the marketing team come to us and say, ooh, I found this tool for sharing videos. But then that Vidyard tool not only allows us to share our marketing material and track those views, but also from our customer service team, there's a tool that they could record live. So just think about, you know, all the times when you're having a problem with a software and you're like, no, click here, click the thing in the middle, and then there's an error. So now we can actually have custom guided little walkthroughs to respond to clients. So a really interesting use case of the Vidyard connector tool that we hadn't really originally thought for, but again, trying to find ways that these packages and products can address needs for multiple teams.
And so tell me about the community service, community management tool. What happens there? And do you have Vidyard incorporated into community as well?
Not yet as much as I'd like. I believe they are working on a Lightning component that allows you to embed more than just one video. So we're trying to work on how to get that into solutions. The community management package is a package of reports and dashboards that allow us to see, as we launch our self-service community, what the engagement levels are like, you know, what people are doing, when they're doing it, so we can really see if, you know, how we can add value to that community. So I think that's a great reminder too of, you know, it may not be a full-on paid product. It may be something on the AppExchange that is a package of reports and dashboards, or maybe a Salesforce Labs free app that really is just giving you a leg up so that you can get started with tracking or creating something new, but not have to start from scratch.
Okay. And then, so you also have a couple of apps on here that I don't come across too often. So tell me about the Jira server connector. What do you use that for? And how do you use that for customer service? Because isn't that an IT tool?
Well, so what I think is really helpful is that we have our developers working in Jira, and then we've got our support reps that are answering the phone that are potentially need to be the ones to update you about your issue. So what we've been able to do with this connector is connect the Salesforce case to the Epic in Jira. And so that way you can see who owns it on the dev team. You can see a direct link to it if you have Jira access. You can see the comments. So that way, it saves the step for our support team of having to track that information down, or find our release manager and get that information, especially because our development office is down in Atlanta and our headquarters is up in Charlotte. So it really allowed us to bring the information from Jira into Salesforce so that our support team can live on the case object, but still get the information they need, and then allow us to report on Jira tickets that are closed so the support reps can then update the customer and close those cases from the Salesforce side.
So if I'm a customer and I open a case because I have a problem, you can connect my case to work that the developers are already working on using Jira as their project management tool.
Exactly. And now that we've got the community portal, you can see your bug case in our community. We rolled out single sign-on, so you don't even have to have a whole nother set of credentials. And so you can see the status of your case to say waiting for development, et cetera. So not the direct Jira information as a customer, but that updates the status that you can see, so that ideally, or you could even check the status without having to reach out to our support team, because that's all connected within the Salesforce case object.
Sweet. So that's a great customer experience, right? Everything is all tied together, and you don't have data in lots of disparate places. Tickets all roll up into one original source. And if I'm a developer, I can see it. But if I'm a customer, I can see it. If I'm a support person, I can see it as well.
Exactly.
Okay. So one last question for you. Tell us about Config Workbook, because I think it's a very underused tool. How do you use it? What problem does it solve for you?
I knew you were going to ask about that, because that is the one that I think I was trying to pick something else, and it ended up in my stack. So I want you to tell me why it's your favorite.
So they have a freemium model, which allows you to export some of your metadata instead of having to write everything from scratch.
Perfect. So I've been looking recently at elements.cloud for that. They're not on the AppExchange yet, but so I probably was looking for something like that, and then it ended up in my stack. So now I'm obligated to go and check it out because it's Geraldine approved.
Well, yes, but I will also tell you that I have a special place in my heart for Elements, not least because it's started by a bunch of Brits, and and their product is pretty fantastic, and their support, and they're actually a great team of people to work with, and they have been doing some amazing visits and meets and greets at all of the community events that have been going on this year. So if you get a chance to have a demo with them or do one of their workshops, I'd strongly recommend it. I think that the config workbook is also a great start for starting to document your org.
Which I think is going to be a challenge for pretty much every admin out there. I think that would be my magic wand, just to anticipate your question, just because I think, especially again, working on a team of 3, you want to get the work done and you're so excited for features, but the documentation piece is always the toughest. So, definitely being great about writing descriptions is part of it, but, taking the time to document why you made fields and where they're referenced and those kind of things. I think tools like Elements can really help get you started by connecting and pulling that data for you, so it doesn't feel like you're just staring at a blank document with a blinking cursor. and not sure where to begin. So I think if I could clone myself, that's all that my cloned self would do, would be to document our now 10+ year org.
So, well, there's also another tool that's called Amanda, which you can install, which is kind of does a crawl through all of your metadata and produces some great articles about like what's in there, and if you touch this, you're going to break that. We really like Amanda when we get an inherited org as well. So, okay, let's go back to Dave.
Okay.
Okay, so Dave, I would just like to ask you, how do you find the apps that you use, and what tips do you have for other users when they're looking for apps? So Kristi has got the most enormous pile of apps, but what are the sort of criteria that you go when looking for when you're on the AppExchange?
Well, so actually, the way that I find out about most of our apps is here in Boston, we actually have a nonprofit user group where all the nonprofits kind of get together and share success stories, all that kind of stuff, and some great best practices and knowledge. And so a lot of the apps, like Demand Tools, for example, is really, I found out from the user groups. And as well, we also have a larger just Boston user group for everybody. And that's really, it's just word of mouth. I mean, the AppExchange, I have certainly gone there and searched, and their search engine is just great. I know from time to time, I do always like to peruse and see what's out there. And as I said, we're on Lightning, so it was really great when that came out to see everyone that was Lightning ready, all the apps that were ready there. And so, yeah, that's pretty much how we find out about it.
Okay, brilliant. Well, thank you, and thank you for holding on. I know running a little bit long. Let me hand over to Amanda for closing remarks.
Thank you, and thank you everybody who joined today. Again, we apologize for starting a little bit late, but I wanted to just show a few more slides where you can build your own stack. So go to allinthestack.com, build a stack, tweet it. When you do, you have a chance to be the next Dave or the next Kristi and actually speak on our webinar series, which happens every Wednesday, first Wednesday of the month at 2 o'clock Eastern. And it's really easy. You just go in and you pick your category or even make your own category and then type in the name of the app and you go from there. So we have our next one on October 4 with 2 more customers. Then we have Dreamforce, and you might be actually seeing these 2 faces, Dave and Kristi, live for our All in the Stack live session, where they'll be really talking a lot about the apps they use and why, along with a few other customers. So that'll be really exciting. And then we come back online again in December. We're taking the November webinar off for Dreamforce to do it live. So I want to thank everybody again for coming today and being a part of it, especially Geraldine, Dave, and Kristi. And we hope to see you guys all again soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Kristi.
Thanks, everyone.